Every key has major and minor scales, and every major and minor scale has major and minor chords. For instance, in the key of C, there are C major scales with C major chords and C minor scales with C minor chords. In creating the C minor scale, certain notes are permanently altered, resulting in both the C major scale and the C minor scale having different key signatures. As well as this, every major scale has a different minor scale which is said to be related to it. Related because it does have the same key signature and a similar notation to the major scale that it's related to. In music, this related minor scale is known as the relative minor. Because every scale produces chords, and every major scale has a relative minor scale, it follows that every major chord has a relative minor chord. The relative minor is found and formed on the sixth degree of every major scale. So in the key of C major, the sixth degree is A. This means that the A minor scale is the relative minor scale to C major, and so the chords which these two scales produce are also related. The A minor chord is related to the C major chord. A minor, C major. In the F major scale, the sixth degree is D. So the D minor scale is the relative minor scale to F major. And similarly, the D minor chord is related to the F major chord. D minor, F major. In the G major scale, the sixth degree is E. So the E minor scale is the relative minor scale to G major, and the E minor chord is related to the G major chord. E minor, G major, and so on. When working with chords, whether composing or generally putting a song together, an alternative quick way of establishing a major chord's relative minor is to play the major chord and select the root note. Count down 3 semitones, and this leads you to the naming note of the relative minor chord. From a C major chord, count down 3 semitones from its root note. 1, 2, 3. The relative minor is A minor. From an F major chord, count down 3 semitones from its root note. 1, 2, 3. The relative minor is D minor. And from a G major chord, count down 3 semitones from its root note. 1, 2, 3. The relative minor is E minor. In the key of C major are 3 primary chords 1, 4, and 5 are C, F, and G. We now know that these 3 primary chords have 3 relative minors: A minor, D minor, and E minor. So, once again, primary chords C, F, and G, and their three relative minors, A minor, D minor, and E minor. In this next example, we'll play a major chord with the bass root note, and then keep the chord the same, but change the bass note to its relative minor. Although the chord hasn't changed, by changing the bass note, you'll hear how the sound of the chord has changed, and how well that same chord blends with both bass notes, further establishing the relationship between major and relative minor. By playing the major chord of C, and then adding its bass root note, we can clearly hear that strong major sound in the chord C major. If we now keep the same right-hand chord C, but move the bass root note to its relative minor, A, we can hear how this same chord now has a definite minor sound. In fact, it now becomes a minor seventh in the relative minor key. So C major with a C bass becomes A minor seventh with an A bass. This, of course, can be done with any inversion of C major chord. Here's the same thing with a C first inversion. C major becomes A minor seventh. And a second inversion of C, C major, becomes A minor seventh. We can do the same for any major and relative minor. If we play the F major chord and add its bass root note of F, we hear that clear F major sound. Move the bass note to its relative minor, in this case D, and the chord becomes a minor sound. So F major becomes D minor seventh. If we play the G chord and add its bass root note, we hear that clear G major sound. Now move the bass note to its relative minor, in this case E, and we get the minor sound of E minor seventh. So G major becomes E minor seventh. This is an impressive demonstration of the effectiveness of moving from the major to the relative minor. It shows clearly the closeness in harmony of the two chords of the major and the relative minor, and how, working in any key, we have the option of using 6 powerfully blending chords: primary chords 1, 4 and 5, and their 3 relative minors.